Hey everybody, week one of the BCGA is done and in the books, and it was a pretty interesting week. Let's take a look and see what we had going on. First off, we're gonna go to just a rundown of the games, and let's see what happened in the games. We had first game on the docket was the Bime Times versus the Med Radicals. Turned out this was the closest game of the week. Bime Times came up short, 162 to 163 to the Med Radicals. The Bime Times were led by the only person they had in the 20 points was B. Rude. Meanwhile, though, on the Med Radical side, Drew Brees with 29 points led the way, and a big day from Lamar Woodley, a big pickup for the Med Radicals, who had 20 points. This game actually came down to the last game of the night. On Monday night, Thomas Howard for Oakland gave the Med Radicals 8 points, which put them over the top. So a nice close matchup between the Med Radicals and the Bime Times. Moving on, we had also the Destroyers and the Footballers. Destroyers took down the Footballers 195 to 150. Destroyers had a big game from Andre Johnson with 28 points, and Frank Gore came up big with 24. The Footballers, like I said, only had 150 points. Got 25 from Marion Barber, 22 from Thomas Jones, who were big performers. They left 86 on the bench, including 29 points from, who is this guy here? Jonathan Joseph, DB at Cincinnati. So could have had a couple other guys playing there for the Footballers, although it would have made up a 45-point difference. Not sure about that. Next game of the week was the Flames versus the Gurus, and I'll tell you what, the Gurus look tough. They put up the week's biggest point total in 242. Huge amount of points. They had Brian Westbrook with 23 points. Michael Turner, who was the leading scorer of all individual players with 38 points. A huge game. 220 rushing yards, 2 TDs. Big game from Michael Turner. But then he also had London Fletcher with 32 points. What's this guy's name? Keith Rivers from Cincinnati with 22 points. And then D'Amico Ryans with 25 points. So big week for the Gurus. He even had Jay Cutler and Aaron Rodgers both on the bench. 23 and 22 points for both of those guys. The Gurus look tough, and I doubt they're going to be starting Kurt Warner anymore with those three tough quarterbacks. On the Flames side, tough day. They got 30 points out of Plexico Burris, which was big. 30 points out of James Harrison, Steelers linebacker. So it looked pretty promising to start with, but only a negative 1 point from Todd Heap didn't help. Not much on defense. Sammy Knight, no points. So pretty much a blowout there by the Gurus over the Flames. The next game of the week was NC Steelers against IWin. Also a close game. NC Steelers pull it out 172 to 165. The NC Steelers were led by Phillip Rivers at 26, Randy Moss at 24, and then on the IWin side, they did have 33 points from Reggie Bush and 28 points from Reggie Wayne. So a pretty high-powered offense for IWin, but nothing from Deuce McAllister, nothing from Lawrence Maroney, and then the defense was fairly weak. Nobody had any big guys really on the bench that they left off. So big win for the NC Steelers to start the season. Next up, we had Brian Christopher, the newcomer, along with going up against the Bismarck Bombers, the lowly team from last year. And the Bombers pulled this one out, 144 to 117. Christopher was hurt because he was the guy who was the victim of the Tom Brady injury. He had Tom Brady, only got 3 points out of him, and that really hurt him. And then he got nothing out of Maurice Jones-Drew. Welker obviously suffered from the Tom Brady injury. And the defense was decent, but not good enough to bring up that lowly offense. The Bombers with 144, not much of a point showing from them either. Being led by Carson Palmer with 2 points isn't going to help you much. But they did have Terrence McGee on defense who pulled up 27 points. Probably going to play some of his guys on the bench on the Bombers. He had Matt Forte with 25 points and Cortland Finnegan with 32, so another defender. I've seen Brian Christopher active on the waiver wires, picking up some free agents, shuffling that team up, so I'm looking for a little bit more from him in week 2 here. And then in the last game of the week, we had the Action versus the Ponies. The Ponies, obviously, the reigning champions, looking to come back and repeat this year. But the Action put up a strong showing with 194 points against the Prancing Pink Ponies 152. The Action were led by Hines Ward with 25 points and 34 from Willie Parker. They also had Heath Miller in there, so a big Steeler-laden team for the Action, and it pays off this week. Big week from Willie Parker, 138 rushing yards, 3 rushing TDs. Over on the Prancing Pig Pony side, they did get 35 from Donovan McNabb, so another ponies are going to be, looks like they'll be led by their quarterback again this year. But not much else down the line. Nobody else even in the 20s for the ponies. Not much on their bench either to help them out. So the big scores of the week: the Gurus with 242, followed by the Destroyers with 195, and the Action with 194. Those are your big teams to start the year off. So it'll be interesting to see if they can keep it up going into week 2. Speaking of week 2, let's take a look at the games we got on the tap for week 2. First up, the Footballers are at the Med Radicals, and right now the Footballers have a 26-point edge. Although the Footballers got a couple guys in the Houston-Baltimore game that apparently might get postponed because of Hurricane Ike, or possibly just played at another location. So we'll see how that plays out. No doubt the Med Radicals rely on a Chiefs offense with Larry Johnson and Tony Gonzalez. Kicking myself for that one. But they're up against Oakland Chiefs this week, so it might make a difference for the Med Radicals. Next game on the list, we've got the Destroyers at the Bime Times. So the Destroyers have a one win, the Bime Times have 1 loss, and right now the Destroyers have a big edge by 46 in this game. Does Peyton Manning come back on and go strong for the Bime Times? That's a big determination. Derek Anderson against the Steelers, I don't think that's going to be much help for the Destroyers. But big game there. Next down the list, we got the Gurus against the Christopher. So interestingly enough, our team with the lowest amount of points in week 1 versus our team with the highest amounts of points in week 1. And right now, the Gurus do have a 53-point edge in this game. Like I said, Christopher's been trying to make some roster moves, so we'll see if those pay off for him. The Flames at I Win is our next game. Both teams lost in the first week, and right now this game looks tight according to the preview. I Win has the edge by 3 points, but both of them on the verge of scoring 200 based on this. Manning versus Roethlisberger at the quarterbacks, and in the offense, we got LaDainian Tomlinson versus Reggie Bush, Plaxico Burress against Reggie Wayne, Todd Heap against Jeremy Shockey. This does look like a pretty even matchup. We'll see what happens with both the Flames and I Win looking for their first win. NC Steelers at Prancing Pink Ponies. The Steelers won their first week, edging out a victory, but this week they're underdogs to the Ponies. And we'll see what happens in that game. And then the last game is the Action versus the Bombers, and the Action do have the advantage in this one. Both teams have 1 win, but I think the Bombers are having a tough time beating a pretty decent squad for the Action. Lots of Steelers and lots of Cowboys for the Action. We'll see what happens with those guys. Tough game for the Cowboys on Monday night. So that is the look at week 2. Everybody, good luck. Can't wait to see how the results turn out on Sunday.